In the heart of Medina, a quiet tension spread across the air. Rumors swirled through the ancient streets and markets like desert winds. Something monumental was happening, but few could comprehend its scale. The unthinkable had begun. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman had signed a decree to initiate partial excavation of the sacred grounds of Jannat Baqi, one of the holiest graveyards in Islamic history. The plan, hidden behind the veil of development, was ambitious: a luxury housing colony to accommodate VIP pilgrims right at the edge of the Prophet's mosque. The challenge? Part of the graveyard where companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, were buried, stood directly in the path of the project. The decision to shift the blessed graves was not announced publicly at first, but insiders and select royal engineers began marking sections of the land. Huge yellow excavators were brought in discreetly, operating under tight security and media blackout. As dawn broke on a Friday, under the crisp blue sky of Medina, a team of laborers began to dig. The first grave targeted was believed to belong to a noble Sahabi, one of the closest companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Crowds began to gather around the site, murmurs spreading rapidly. Some were just curious, others had tears in their eyes, even before the first shovel hit the ground. Then, just 3 minutes into the excavation, something happened that defied reason and science. A brilliant light erupted from the soil. Not like sunlight, not like artificial glow. It was otherworldly, blinding. Those present dropped their tools, shielding their eyes, but it was already too late. Many screamed. Others fell to their knees. The light grew brighter and brighter, pulsing, alive, as if it were emanating from the very soul of the earth. Shouts of Allahu Akbar echoed from every direction. Some guards fainted on the spot. Phones slipped from trembling hands. Even the seasoned workers who had seen the most brutal demolitions could not move. The blinding light not only lit the area but seemed to penetrate hearts. Several bystanders later reported that they felt their sins flash before their eyes, as if they were being judged in that moment. One man, a foreign pilgrim who happened to be nearby, later told media he felt an overwhelming urge to recite the kalima, as if the light was calling his soul to testify. Among those present was King Salman, father of Mohammed bin Salman, who had been visiting the site in person for ceremonial purposes. The king, upon seeing the divine glow and hearing the crowd's cries, broke down into uncontrollable sobs. He turned to his son and shouted, "Stop this madness! These are the beloved companions of our Prophet. Their graves are not to be disturbed." Prince Mohammed, stunned and visibly shaken, stood speechless. The excavator engine was turned off. Silence overtook the chaos. Something divine had intervened. The entire royal convoy backed away slowly, visibly shaken. Medical teams arrived to assist those who had fainted. Religious scholars who were quietly skeptical before now openly called the incident a miracle. Senior members of the Ulema Council were reported to have wept openly, later calling it a sign from Allah to the leadership of the Ummah. What happened that day in Jannat Baqi was not just a moment, it was a message. A reminder from the heavens that no matter how powerful a kingdom, no matter how vast a plan, nothing can override the sanctity of what Allah has preserved. The glowing light, the overwhelming cries of Allahu Akbar, and the emotional collapse of a king all became a testimony that divine boundaries exist and they are not to be crossed. Jannat Baqi is not just land, it is legacy, it is light, it is the resting place of those who gave everything for Islam. And through this miracle, Allah reminded the world that those who sleep under the sacred soil of Medina are not forgotten, not by the people and certainly not by their Creator. So the next time you stand near Baqi, remember, you are not just near a graveyard, You are at the doorstep of history, beneath the gaze of the heavens, and within the aura of a miracle that shook a nation. O Allah, I ask you for success in every matter, victory at every door, guidance in every effort, blessings in every provision, and your pleasure in all my conditions. O Allah, make my intentions pure for your noble face. Grant me unwavering trust in you and complete confidence in your decree and destiny. O Allah, grant me a success that amazes minds, guidance that brings abundant good, beneficial knowledge, vast sustenance, a humble heart, and accepted deeds. O Allah, O Opener, open for me the doors of your mercy. O Provider, provide for me from where I do not expect. O Most Generous, honor me beyond what I hope. O Guardian, protect me in my religion, my worldly affairs, and my hereafter. After the incident, every religious scholar, imam, and senior advisor in the kingdom was summoned. The digging was halted indefinitely. That very night, in a royal statement, it was declared that not a single grave in Jannat Baqi would be touched. The statement mentioned the appearance of divine signs and asked all citizens to pray for forgiveness and guidance. But what is Jannat Baqi? Why is it so sacred? Located beside Masjid an-Nabawi in Medina, Jannat Baqi is the resting place of thousands of revered figures in Islamic history. It is said that over 10,000 companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, are buried here. Among them are Hazrat Uthman ibn Affan, R.R.A., the third Caliph of Islam, Hazrat Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, R.R.A., the uncle of the Prophet, P.B.U.H., Hazrat Imam Hassan ibn Ali, R.R.A., the beloved grandson of the Prophet, P.B.U.H., the wives of the Prophet, Ummahat al-Mu'mineen, numerous Tabi'een, the generation after the Sahaba, scholars and martyrs of Islam. The name Jannat Baqi roughly translates to the Garden of Baqi, a reference to the grove of trees that once stood there. It was the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, himself who designated the area as a burial ground. He personally visited and prayed for those buried there. The place has since become a symbol of spiritual closeness to the Prophet and an eternal sanctuary for the righteous. The Prophet, peace be upon him, would often visit Baqi, especially at night, and pray for those buried within. In one narration he said, "Peace be upon you, O inhabitants of the graves, believers and Muslims. Indeed, we will, Allah willing, join you." The miraculous light that emerged during the attempted excavation was viewed as a divine sign, warning humanity not to tamper with the sanctity of the sacred. Scholars pointed to hadiths and historical narrations in which the Prophet, P.B.U.H., mentioned the honor of those buried in Baqi and how the earth itself would bear witness to their piety. In one hadith, the Prophet, P.B.U.H., was seen weeping for the people of Baqi and made dua for their forgiveness. The scholars reminded people of the narration where the Prophet, peace be upon him, once said, "May Allah have mercy on the people of Baqi." In the days following the incident, something even more mysterious occurred. A group of pilgrims claimed to see radiant figures standing at the graves under the moonlight. These figures, according to witnesses, were dressed in white and could be heard reciting verses of the Quran in soft, echoing tones. Some even captured distant audio of those voices, though it faded like a breeze. Others reported the scent of musk and rose, filling the air near the graves, despite no flowers being present. The Saudi government quietly expanded the boundaries of Jannat Baqi instead of reducing them. Plans for the housing colony were entirely relocated miles away from the site. The Royal Commission released an official statement calling the incident a lesson in humility and divine wisdom. In response, Muslim scholars around the world organized online conferences, sermons, and gatherings to honor Jannat Baqi and revisit its history. The incident became a symbol of divine protection, a clear message that the legacy of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and his companions is beyond human alteration. Articles were written, documentaries proposed, and an international symposium was planned for the preservation of Islamic heritage sites. Today, as pilgrims walk past the gates of Jannat Baqi, many stop and silently reflect. They remember the daylight burst forth from a grave, protecting the dignity of those who devoted their lives to Islam. Some leave with tears in their eyes, some whisper surahs in prayer, others raise their hands and ask to be buried in such blessed soil. And as the sun sets behind the Prophet's mosque, casting a golden hue over the cemetery, one thing remains clear: Jannat Baqi remains untouched, protected, sacred forever.